You never know where you're going to end up, what you're going to experience when you go blindly into a remote viewing target. And that was my experience on what I thought was going to be a run-of-the-mill practice verifiable target. Um, it sticks in my head what some of my mentors and role models say about making sure the majority of your work is verifiable targets. I take to heart that um, what I've heard people say is it's very easy to make yourself look like a great remote viewer. All you're doing is working woo targets. Now, it's no secret. I love the woo. I love exploring them. I love talking about them. It's something I find incredibly fascinating. Let's get that caveat out of the way. But when I sat down to do this target, that was the last thing on my mind. That was me saying, no, we're not going to do woo right now. We're going to work a verifiable target from a tasker that I've worked with before. Um, and it ended up having some woo in it. And so I have the verifiable data and then I have the woo stuff. And I really just I need to talk about it because at the end of my second session, I followed someone after they died. I watched that process. And I want to share that with all of you in terms of what I experienced. Now, could this have been my imagination? I need to get that out of the way right away. Yes, and I'll touch base on the different areas where I may be biased, and it may just be my imagination taking over the session. I'll get to that. But putting all of that aside, imagination or real data, I'll leave that for you to decide. The information that I produced is a concept that really blew my mind. And that's really what I want to share. This was a spiritual experience for me. And that holds value and significance to me. So I'm going to share a little bit about this session. I'm going to share my data. I'm going to share the feedback with it with all of you, and you can draw your own conclusions. I'm going to start with the feedback for this session. Now, the way I set up this target is how I've been setting up all my training targets. I work the target before I even select the target. Sometimes I'll work the target and then I'll reach out to a friend and I'll say, hey, do you have a target for me? And they'll send me the target ID and I'm already done. Or sometimes I'll say, all right, I'll work the target and then I'll go online to one of several target pools that I trust online and I randomly pick one of the targets. The way I task it is I'll go to Google, and I've said this before, and I use a random number generator and I create my own tasking. My intention behind that tasking and that number is that it will correlate to a target that is chosen blindly after I complete my sessions. And that's what I did. So I got my random number generator. I completed 2 sessions, and then I felt, okay, I've said everything that I need to say about this target. And then I go back and I either have the target assigned to me or I take something from a target pool. I'm not going to reveal where I got this target from. I've created another tasking document that is an exact copy of this target minus the original target ID number, because I don't want to ruin anything that's already out there for anybody, or in case someone wants to send this to you. Okay, so I found a lot more success doing it this way. And something I've learned as a viewer is to slow down and to stop rushing to get the feedback. And I guess, at least for me, when I was much newer at this, I couldn't wait to get the feedback and see how I did. So I would literally, on the training targets, I'd finish the session and right away I'd be clicking to look at the results. And I wasn't getting good results. And I don't think I was flushing these targets as well as flushing all the data out that I could have. I'm finally at a point where I can control my excitement and my anticipation Um, and I really just, I'll do a couple of sessions. And sometimes those sessions are just weeks apart just because of how busy I am. And that's what I did with this one. And you'll see I actually did my first session on July 1st, my second session on September 1st. Now, the way I work any target really is even if I get a retask, I don't go back and look at my old session. Now, if I get a retask and it refers to my old session, I will work most of that target before I go back and look at my old data. And what I found is that now we can argue maybe it's just buried somewhere in your subconscious, but I'm going to speak um, with talking on the sensations of where information comes from. I will feel that I'm on a signal line and I'll write down the data. And then when I go back and look at that first session, I'll realize, whoa, I have I have corroborating data here. So for me, that's verification that I'm on to something because both sessions have similar data. Now, if they're only a couple days apart, obviously I'm remembering it, but it's those moments where it's like, I have no idea what this session was. This is just a random target ID. I have no idea what it's affiliated with. That helps me to maintain blind protocols and to not front load myself at all. So with that being said, I'm going to share my feedback on this target here. And here it is. Okay, so it was Mount Popocatépetl, I can't say that, Mexico, on December 19th, 2000, as a past event. Now, my data was a lot of stuff that I think correlates to the volcano, but I had some UFO stuff, I had some spiritual stuff. So I really was resisting the urge to write that information down because I didn't expect to get an element of, here's the tasking, move to the optimum position and location and describe the flying object at the location. So there was captured on film a flying object or a UFO that was at this location here. Nothing else there. When I read that, I realized, wow, maybe my data is on to something here. And I'm going to go through my session now. I'm going to share some of the feedback here. All right. So here's what I labeled it. It's July 1st here, and I labeled it this target ID is a placeholder for a target ID that will be accepted or selected by viewer post session. This target ID represents the selected ID, and viewer will collect data based on the specific taskings of the target ID to be selected post session. I felt calm and ready, but I was a little bit hungry. Right away, I had lights and life with life forms floating past me. Is this? Oh, wow. I didn't even catch this before. Is this after death? White, brilliant, beautiful. Confusion, a sense of I don't belong here, but it's okay. Something, come learn. And that felt like an invitation to me to come learn. I'm just remembering this now. I completely forgot about this. So right at the beginning, I had life after death stuff. Okay, that's weird. All right, so my first ideogram I labeled as energetics. I had a structure with energy and waves and layers. Um, concentric, hazy, floating, ascending. Again, I had someone floating upwards. I kept getting these pings at like the sacral chakra point or the dantian, slow moving, lightweight, and it was like an OBE, and I had Bob Monroe as an AOL. A sense of leaving something behind, and I had an AOL of corporeal or like the body, physical manifest of the body. A sense of peace and calm, pride in one's journey, prideful. Okay, so we had a little bit of volcano, and now we're right into the spiritual stuff. This 911 here, that's 911. Hard, spiky, tingly, outwards energetics, uncomfortable vibration, as if I touch it and it's too intense and too disharmonious to my body. So I was touching whatever this was, and I didn't like the vibration behind it. Metal, rust, ringing, a gong sound. I had an I-beam because I had that 911 AOL, so now I'm trying to flush out that 911 feeling. Vibrating quickly, almost bringing it in and out of phase, as if each layer separates and reset and coexists in its independent parts of reality. So it was like Something was phase shifting into different dimensions or levels of reality. I had quarks and the Philadelphia experiment. And my AI was, this is weird. And I'm back on life. An upset stomach. Again, lower chakra points. Disjoined, disharmonious. Expanding waves of energy. Disjoined, separated, disconnected. Now, this could be lava flows or ash clouds coming out of the volcano here. So I'm getting it's like I was getting two pieces of data here. The energetics of the volcano. And really, I think this coming in out of phase is possibly of the UFO. And I'm getting life form data. Layers, outpouring, spilling, expanding, frequency, freedom. And right here, I wrote, I know my writing's horrible, I'm working on it, but what I described this was lava, L-A-V-A, and colosseum. I don't know what that word means. I'll have to look that one up. All right. Now my computer's acting goofy. Sorry, guys. Okay. Pillars and I-beams, dark, cold, refreshing, cool, chilly, a good airflow. There are life forms around this structure. Coliseum, Molosseum, I don't know what to call it. And this I think is a little bit off target here. I think I got some noise here. Energy and pass through a structure, ocean or water nearby the sea, which not really. Greece or Rome, Greco-Roman, murder. I had this person being pulled or dragged out to sea we go at the bottom of the sea. Now, let's let's just go out on a limb. Maybe this was an out of body experience. Maybe this was UFO going into the sea with a person. I don't know. Probably just noise at this point. But I had some bottom of the sea data. But then right away, I said there's a subspace element to this target, an out of phase element. What does it mean? Where does it go? Where is it going? Where does it come from? Layers of oneself. There's a scientific observation or discovery aspect to this, maybe post-incident, as if it is being studied at a later point in time. Well, we know the volcano is always studied after it happens. This eruption, as I'll share later, was one of the largest eruptions to date, I think, in 500 years. So there was definitely a scientific element here behind this. A unified phase, a unified field, colors white and brown, a connection of elements, life and life forms. Again, there's life at this target, possible subspace feel. They're out of phase with oneself or with reality. Helpful, friendly, kind, and curious. I liked it. White, chunky, etheric. And then I had a restaurant with tables and chairs and open air feel. So I feel like I'm just pulling in so many different aspects of this. I'm like jumping around to different pieces of this thing here. Okay, and this is not a UFO. Was like a table with people, and these are symbols for life forms around the table. But then I'm back to apparitions and spirits. They are present. They know something dark happened, but don't. And then I wrote, but don't focus on that. So I was telling myself not to focus on whatever dark happened. I got a sense they were happy to see me. These lives are there in a place that feels populated, but it isn't, at least not physically. They have passed on, but not moved on. They are present, waiting. They feel positive. What do they want? They want to live. They want acceptance. I had here city on the water, but then I had outward energetics, warm and pulsing. So this red in the middle, there was no ocean. It was, it's not in the middle of an ocean, but this could be volcano data here. There's a life in here, a singularity, male. Starman is what I labeled him. So that little black speck inside that yellow here, that was the life. But maybe I'm picking up the pilot of the craft. What I'm if I'm truly connecting on the UFO that was seen there, it sounds like there's other aspects to this that exist in another dimension or reality. Okay. Describing it wet, hard, energized, pulsing, tingling. Stern, rigid, again, male. Center of attention, older, 50s to 60s, cold, attentive, disciplined. Danger, corruption, warning, garden. I had blocking, preventing, coercion. Moving into my stage 5 here, disjoined. I had fragmented, sliced, or layered, disconnected energetics, outwards and radiate, vibration, disconnected, feathered, but not completely disconnected, feathered or layered, or spliced, but not fully at the bottom, still connected. So this, I know this looks like explosions, but I'm not going to try to justify that as an explosion. What this is one single object. Think of this as like a rectangular block. It's all connected at the base, but it's spliced out into multiple layers of reality or multiple phases or dimensions. So it's like one piece existing in multiple dimensions is what I was trying to represent here. The bottom is a solid base, but it is being divided into different layers or components. This feels like different layers of reality. They are phasing into different layers simultaneously, giving the appearance of multiple layers when it is really all one thing that is just displaying all or most of itself simultaneously in forms of appearance at one point in time. Blocking. I moved my stage 5 to blocking. I had breaking, stopping, preventing, dismantling, guarding. I feel it in my sacral again. A stoppage of time, a guardian, a warning, a man who cares very deeply. He's stern and rigid, will not let me pass, nor will I try. I felt that whatever I was trying to see, he wasn't letting me go, and I wasn't pushing it. And I don't know that I was necessarily having an interaction, but I just had this sense that whoever was there, it was something that I was not supposed to see. And I try to be respectful of that. Protected in nature from what? Energetics, the etheric, radiation, intensity, a portal, a doorway. There was an intense energetic event, i.e., the volcano. Did this create a doorway or opening, a stoppage in time in the continuum, a major halt or stopping point? From the right perspective, this is very noticeable on the timeline. All right, so I'm wondering, there are so many reports online of UFOs appearing around volcanoes. Do those energetics cause some kind of opening, the multidimensional opening? And that's why we're seeing them? I don't know, but that's what my data might suggest on that. Okay, let's move to session 2. Problem is here. Hold on. Okay. All right. So this session was done on September 1st, 2024. Felt okay. My mind was racing a bit, and my ankle itched because I had poison ivy, and that sucked. All right. Again, right away, energetics. And let me go back to that first ideogram of the other one. So these are 2 months apart. Haven't looked at the target. I didn't look at my data. Look at that ideogram. Wow. It's so neat to me. How similar they are. All right. So I had a cloud, soft, white, gray, layered, dusty, coughing, layers, horizon. I had the word chest pain and remorseful. Again, a 9/11 feel with a siren. And here's dust all around the city. So really what I'm getting is this explosion of the volcano and the dust, and it reminds me of 9/11. But I keep getting this life data, life, crossroads, decision point, something in the making. Cross through the eyes, looking both sides of the mind, left, right brain. It was like this confusion or decision. I was trying to figure this out as if two conflicting mental signals happen at once. A crossroad or decision point, looking left and right. Which way will he go? He crosses and goes straight. So he didn't go left or right. He went straight. Wet, gooey, mushy, again, expanding in hard layers, coughing in a brick wall. Something goes up and over, silent, stoic. I had like this fog or this cloud, steamy. Again, the ash cloud, a hot ash cloud, that comes out of a volcano. White noise and rain. Rain could have been the ash coming down. Coughing, describe the cause. Loud and downwards. It was rattling, shaking, rumbling. Again, a volcano exploding. Particulate, a fine particulate in the air. I said that there was biomass in here. Is it engineered? Is it designed? Is it viral? Maybe that's a COVID AOL. Spores inhaled, like sucking in dust or sand. Again, that's an ash cloud. Impacts the eyes, impact on the eyes, close them, and tears. Describe what is most important for the viewer to know. I had an AOL of head pain. I'm sorry, I had a aesthetic impact of head pain. Light, illumination, transcendence, opening, heart expanding. Something akin to the aurora borealis. Hmm. Interesting, but today is December 13th, and just 3 nights ago, I actually saw the borealis above my house here in Pennsylvania for the first time. I doubt it's related, but who knows how this feedback works? An outward release, relax, surrender, death. I still felt there was a water interface and an urban feel. There were structures in the distance, hard ground, gritty and wet. All right, so I'm getting into the death data here. Before I go down the real woo rabbit hole, I want to share some of the verifiable feedback here. This is just the AI results from it, but just a quick Google search. I put the name and the date of this volcano erupting, and it states on December 19th, 2000, Popocatépetl, a volcano in Mexico, erupted and released an ash-filled column. If you remember my drawings with the ash. And some other details. Authorities warned that a major eruption could cause mud flows and could destroy entire villages. 30,000 people were evacuated from villages near the volcano to government shelters. After the eruption, travel within 75 miles of the volcano's base was prohibited, and residents were not allowed within 7 miles of the crater. Uh, Popocatépetl, if somebody knows how to speak, I speak Spanish, but this is, I can't remember how to say this, so Natal, it's the native language of Mexico, is Mexico's most dangerous active volcano. Volcano has been active or dormant for the last 500,000 years, with its last major eruption occurring over 1,000 years ago. This current active phase began in 1994. Okay, so now let's look at, where am I at here? This was another interesting fact. On December 18th, 2000, the volcano staged its most violent eruption in over 1,000 years. This one says more than 40,000 residents in nearby communities were evacuated from their homes by public safety officials, although many refused to leave their homes within the danger zone. The volcano shot hot rocks over 2 miles in the air. 10 days later, it was announced that the volcano had went into a phase of relief calm, and the last of the evacuees were permitted to return to their homes. But again, on December 30th, it spewed ash again on nearby communities, as well as the city of Puebla, 25 miles away. I'm wondering, I'm going to need to look that one up. If I got some overlay on this data here. And if so, I'm off target because it was specifically for the December 18th eruption. So I'm going to say no, but this because I had some city data. There's not a ton of data or information on this specific eruption in terms of what I'm looking for feedback. Okay, another page here. This is just another picture of the ash cloud there. Okay, 19 December 2000. And if we look, I just love this that I got this picture here that I sketched. There it is. Okay, so there's the ash cloud in the distance of what we're seeing here. Now, in my mind, it was hard, every so often to go to like a 9/11 scenario again because this just a similar intensity of an event like that. Okay, just some more pictures. There's the crater, more ash. That's what I was perceiving there. Okay, now here's what's interesting. I got a lot of life after death stuff, and somebody died. Full transparency here. According to everything I'm reading, spewing lava, no deaths or major damage from the December 19th, 2000 event. That doesn't mean nobody died. I can't verify. I mean, and if someone died, maybe it wasn't related to the volcano and that UFO was just en route to go encounter this person. I don't know. Um, but I want to be transparent about that. I don't have any, I can't verify that anyone died. and the information is so limited. When I first did this, here's what's interesting. When I first did this target in September, after I looked at my feedback, I was able to find one or two videos from that specific incident. I can't find anything through Google that there was a UFO over that volcano. I did see it initially, but that website, it's gone. I can't find it. So if you have information on this, if you can find some more feedback for me, that would be helpful. If you can determine if someone died on that day in Mexico, in that area, that would be helpful as well. Here's some pictures. I don't think these pictures of UFOs are all from this date. It's all the same volcano, but it's had multiple eruptions and it has had a lot of UFO activity surrounding it. Again, just more pictures of UFOs here. Okay. All right. I'm going to get into now um, the data set that this was intense for me, with the things that I saw, the things that I think I was I don't know if I was granted permission to see or if I just developed enough confidence to bypass that little warning that I felt earlier. I'd love to say that what I saw allowed me, and maybe it did, but there's no way I can prove that. There's no way I can prove that this isn't a piece of my imagination. Um, but the way the data came in did not come in like imagination. It came in it was a great flow, and you'll see I went into a session of automatic writing here. Um, and I'm usually pretty on when I do that. So let's look here, session 2. I had this life and I had vacated or fixated. There was a burning smell, something spikes or spiky. And then I had a quick AOL. These spikes reminded me of the throne from Game of Thrones. But I had Anomaly, back to that sacral chakra, type, life sustaining, doesn't want to release. And I'm reminded of the silver cord that some people who astral travel say is connected to that area, to your dantian, to your navel. And maybe this person didn't want to release. And then the throat chakra, they were trying to communicate. And I saw this golden cross, a light. Actually, I drew it in gold because I couldn't draw with the color white. It was a white colored cross, the white light illumination. It was spirit and spiritual. I saw these people like an oligarchy or one voice. They were a crowd. They were together. They were like-minded. They were a collective, not in a hive mind sense, just a society with a common, fixed, rigid belief system, a sense of control or being controlled. Don't step out of the box because they won't feed you. They won't help you. They will watch and judge as you are cast out. So look, let's go really out on a limb here because I can't prove this either way. Maybe this isn't our human society. Maybe this is tied into the society behind what did I draw? Something above with a whoosh sound. And then there was energetics coming down and life was on display. And I felt that this crowd was somehow watching this life. And the sense I had was like this life went outside the box, went against, I don't even want to say against, just away from the crowd. And instead of helping him, they watched him. There was an impact above and behind this life. And I had an AOL of like a gladiator because of the feel of this life being watched. Now, maybe this is a human life and this is this other society watching. That's quite possible. Let's look at our function and purpose to describe or destroy excitement, exhilaration, functionality. Here I had an oligarchy or a politburo, wide open, expanding, an arena, a city, or a cityscape, but this was just outside the city, as in a location. I circled the people and the life. What's the connection and how does it fit together? An innocent on the road less traveled, walking towards the people. So this person was going in the direction of these people. This time I had it labeled as a woman, suffrage, solitude. There was rain or white noise, joy, sadness. There was both emotions, happy and sad, like joy and sadness. There was a rinsing or a cleansing, a ritual or ritualized. And I wrote down here, Christ and his mother. And then life, energetics, and spirit. There were downward energetics, boom, and big. And these, I know they look angelic. And I think what I saw though was initially like these were more like orangish red, hot rocks coming down. And there was a piece of feedback that I had that did confirm that there was, big chunks of molten rock that were coming down from above too. But this life was calm and I had a sense of rising up. And here's where I really get into it. Everything is black or darkened, yet there are these yellow and white balls descending. They were bright and fiery and luminescent. So here, I'll describe it here. The world isn't dark, but it has grown dark from the perspective of this life. There is a shifting or concentrating of energy as the physical senses fade and withdraw. So I realized that this person was dying and their physical senses were going away. So, as you lose your sight, everything starts to grow dark. I will say at this point in my session, I was reminded of Daz Smith telling me how he viewed the Kennedy assassination and then had an opportunity to follow him after he died, to see what happened after you die. That experience went through my mind. And I think when I had that thought, I felt okay to pursue this. Now, here's also where maybe I had that thought and just made up this story in my mind. I don't know. Might not get feedback in this lifetime, but here we go. I felt warmth at the top of the head that is comforting and soothing. And I wrote, here they come. There was a little fear. I wasn't able to sense good or evil, but I felt scared at their presence. So whoever they are were coming, and they were scary to me. I had like a wise old sage, stern, glowing, don't interfere. Had the word city of angels, and then the parting of the sea and pushing forward. So there's this crowd, and then the crowd parted, and then they pushed forward through the crowd. So these circles all represent the crowd. Crowd was moved apart, and they moved into it. Illumination was spiky and transparent. It was see-through, but always present and watching. Forgetful or forgettable is what I really meant to say. Forgettable, meaning they were forgettable by design. So as if you see them, but then you immediately forget that you saw them. The hidden secret, mystery of the watchers. They see us, but we don't see them. They were kind and evil, or more like helpful but deadly. Don't cross them. Don't let them see you. They're doing their job. An AOL of Free the King. And I don't know if I described it here or not, but their faces, and maybe I say it a little bit further down, their faces were the faces of the Nazgul. If you've seen Lord of the Rings, the scene where they're up, and it's the first one, and they're up on top of this old abandoned lookout tower, and Sam and Meryl and Pippin are they have a fire and they're cooking hot dogs or something, and the Nazgul see them, and they have to put out the fire and they fight, and that's the point where Frodo gets stabbed by a blade, and you see their faces in the etheric, right? In the subspace, and they're glowing like white yellow faces, but they're these stern, warped, like non-human faces. And that's almost identical to what I saw in my mind's eye during this experience. And there was this flowy, glowing, healing energy. Step into the stream, bring him to the stream, and bring the stream to him, or that so that he may rise up. Let me read that again. Step into the stream, bring him to the stream, or bring the stream to him so that he may rise up. So it's this sense of like bring him to the energy, and the energy will take him up. So here's a good bit of automatic writing. There is a system of energy, almost mechanical in nature, that is triggered upon death or during the process. The energy descends and he is guided to it. Workers do something and help lift him up and through. There are layers of reality to this. Some layers where the workers cannot be seen or detected, only perceived as the invisible holy energy. I felt this in my sacral, and my AOL is to the cord connecting spirit to body or corporeal life. All right. So what I sensed was that there's this system of holy energy, but it's mechanical in nature, almost like program. I'm not using the simulation argument here, but it's like programmed. This energy is reactive to do a job based on certain stimulus, is a good way of saying it. And what happens is, as he dies, the energy starts coming down. And these workers came in, these Nazgul workers, and they lift him up into the energy. And as they're doing this, I'm realizing other layers of reality or subspace have the ability to see some of this happen, but they were not able to perceive these workers. They didn't know that these workers existed. They could see the effects of their actions, but they assumed it was all this holy energy when in fact it was these workers. They're invisible and unknown even to some layers of subspace, but they are there, stern faces. Here's where the Nazgul reference comes in. Golden, glowing energy bodies. You see them when you die, but you might not recognize them as such, as your perception may see them as a familiar. So when you die, you'll see them, but they change form to, or from your perception, interprets them as someone you know, so you feel more comfortable. So that's like seeing, your great grandfather or your grandfather, your father, when you die. Maybe it's not him, maybe it's these beings taking on his form. They lift you to the energy and you separate and ascend. So they're putting you in, your body separates. Your spirit body dissipates and disappears at a certain height or level as consciousness dispatches to another realm. So like your body came up and then it just dissolved into there as your consciousness went somewhere else. From this perspective, wherever I was, it appears to dissolve. But it moves to a place of darkness and solitude to rest and heal. I was in this black space and I could see this sphere like a droplet here. I describe it a little bit further. It is quiet here, but the workers are present to nurture it. This is pure consciousness, shaped like a clear crystal sphere or droplet of water. You can see all of life's experience here as it lives within itself for a time, processing. This could be the life review, and it feels beautiful. So this is what was amazing to me. It was this droplet, a sphere, but it was like a droplet of water, and inside it was consciousness and the whole collective of that lifetime within that consciousness. And it was running through itself. And I don't know if I wrote this down or not. It was going through itself, but this could take a very long time. So basically, it's depending on your perspective. So it was like reliving its life. And I think it was reliving it multiple times as it was working through and learning and relearning the lessons it needed to learn. And I said this could take a very long time depending on your perspective, meaning if you're the consciousness, this will take, I want to say aeons. It could take a very long time. But if you're one of these watchers or workers, it seems like it goes pretty quick. But the workers care for it and others like a garden. And here I wanted to cry. And then I went, oh my gosh, are they the Greys? So these Nazgul creatures, now I'm seeing them as, are they the Greys? They can insert themselves into your droplets as needed to help heal, learn lessons, or grow. They are gardening. They are the gardeners, purifying your consciousness. So what I saw them do, I saw one being, one gray, and he had a table, and the table was, I don't know, several dozen spheres that it was caring for. And it would take its finger and it would insert its finger into one of the spheres, which say was my consciousness, and manipulate the experience to make sure that I was growing the way I needed to grow, that I was learning the lessons that I needed to learn, that I was healing. So this is how consciousness was being purified. And I gathered that it was going through life experience, That's why we go through these hard things in life. And as we go through them, we learn and we evolve, and it purifies our consciousness or our loosh. For what purpose, I don't know. Okay. So, and here's a sketch I have here of the gray looking at all the spheres. I wrote, we may already be dead, or we may never really be alive. We are the spheres and only perceive this reality. So, this experience that I'm having right now, I got the sense that I may have already died and just be in my reality or my aeon, as I've talked about in my most recent podcast regarding the Atom Project. But the aeon out of the Gnostic texts is a system of reality. I can't tell, but that's the perception I was getting. This being here was loving and benevolent. It cared for these droplets. It doesn't understand the complexities of our emotions. It's incapable of understanding our emotions, but it was still fascinated. The being is younger and on a journey of self-discovery, cultivating these crops. So this being, as he cultivated these crops of consciousness, was learning. They're all connected, yet also serve as their own unique, independent universes. There is continuity among them, but also the ability to make their world how they see fit for each individual. Like, and I heard Tom Campbell's voice, individuated units of consciousness. So these spheres were all connected as if they were experiencing a collective reality together, but at the same time, this being could make each reality different based on the needs of the person. So if I needed to, for example, live through an apocalypse, this version of my reality that's connected to all of these would go through an apocalypse, but maybe this one over here needs to experience, utopia, the complete opposite, and that would be its perception. So each reality was crafted by this being. I had, they are friendly, and I'm not afraid of them anymore. And that was a profound way for me to end that, because I was looking at these creatures in the beginning where the person was dying. And I said, I was getting these senses, are they evil, kind, but deadly? And in the end, as I watched this being purify, what my data suggests is us, me, I realized that I don't want to say the end game, but from my perspective, at least the far distant game is positive, even though it's hard. Even though these experiences in life are hard, at one point I didn't sketch this out. I saw the sphere spinning, and there were just like this brown droplets falling out of it. And those were the parts that we were shedding that we no longer needed, the lessons we had learned and moved on. And as we shed those things, our consciousness became more and more purified. And I feel that it's evolution. It's like we're shedding the negative to turn into something positive. And after this session, I really feel like, as much as I hate going through hard things, we can sit here and get mad and why are you doing this? But it was a beautiful thing. And it also indicates that, like, I'm not a human being in the sense that we think we are. That's how I'm experiencing this reality. But really, we're this sphere, this droplet sphere of consciousness. Now, looking at my data, obviously right now we have no way to verify that. I will say that description, although I never thought about it like that, it's not a far stretch to my, I'll say, belief or understanding of reality. So it's possible that some of my imagination is contained in this data, because this doesn't sound like something so far off the charts that Dennis would talk about, right? It sounds pretty similar to some of my other stuff. Then again, maybe that's a thread I'm drawn to and I'm learning about. I don't know. So volcano data is there, and that's pretty cool. Um, the other data, the life after death stuff. I mean, the UFO, I have the piece of the UFO. That's up to interpretation in terms of if I'm on target or off target. But if I'm on target here, it sounds like there is some kind of dimensional portal that opens up over this volcano, and someone died. Maybe it was an ET or one of the occupants that died. I don't know, but someone died, and then we followed him as these workers lifted him up, and his consciousness dissolved into the next reality. Remember, they have the ability to phase in and out of reality, which is what I was saying at the beginning. And then we saw what happens. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Um, please let me know. If you'd like to see more work that I do or catch the podcast or the books, visit sixthsensemedia.net. I'm Dennis Nappy II. Thanks for watching.